that these devils been hiding for the longest. You know, they've been paying absorbent amount of money or astronomical amounts of money to hide. You know, but it's all coming out. It's all coming out on these devils.
Yep, I got another one. Dorothea, Princess of Denmark and Duchess of Prussia. Now, I believe Prussia was the ancient word for Germany. Right. 1504 to 1547. And you can clearly see she looks like a so-called Negro woman. Matter of fact, she looks like...
What's her name? What's her name?
The actress Lynn Whitfield?
No. She looked like the singer. What's that?
Oh,
chick?
Erykah
She looked like Erykah Badu. That's Erykah Badu right there, man. In the reincarnation.
Yeah, Duchess of Prussia. She was the daughter of King Frederick the First of Denmark and Anna of Brandenburg.
Oh, Denmark means the mark of Dan.
Right. Mark of the judge. She married Duke Albert of Prussia.
And that was, who's that? Andre 5000 in the reincarnation. Or Common.
Yeah. Here's another one. You can clearly he could pass for an Ephraimite. This guy here, Albrecht von Hohenzollern. Hohenzollern.
From Germany.
Yeah, 1490 to 1568. Albert of Prussia, the first Duke of Duchy of Prussia, or the Duchy. I guess it would be. Yeah, which is Duke of Prussia. The 37th Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights. And that's another thing, too. All these so-called secret societies, they came from Jake. They came from us. You know, the so-called white man, you just carrying on a tradition that basically came from us. That's all.
Stole.
You just stole, yeah. Like everything else. You know? Here's a orb of Martin Luther, Holy Roman Empire, bust of Christ, and bust of Martin Luther. You could clearly see they both look like Jakes. You said you had something?
Yeah, I got a quick one here. This is the Franks. This is the Franks right here. As you could clearly see, if you look at them, that's Jake fighting against Jake. You know, you could clearly see those are black men fighting against black men, and the caption reads, "The Frankish realm, or occasionally Franklin, was a territory inhabited and ruled by the Franks from the 3rd to the 10th century, under the nearly continuous campaign of Charles Martel, Pepin the Short, and Charlemagne, father, son, grandson. The greatest expansion of the Frankish Empire was secured by the early 9th century." You know, and you could clearly see that those are Jakes fighting against Jakes. You know.
Got another one for you. Francesco II Gonzaga, Marquess of Mantua, Italy, 1466 to 1519. And you can clearly see that's a Jake. Clearly. It says about him, he was described as a short, pop-eyed, snub-nosed, and exceptionally brave, and was regarded as the finest knight in Italy. All right, that's in Italy. Here's another one. Elector Frederick III, the Wise of Saxony. Wait a minute, Jake, that's Wise? 1507, and you can clearly see he's a Jake. There's no doubt about it there. All right.
I got a picture here of this is Charles V. You know, this is Charles V. You can see those are all Jakes in that picture. It says Charles V, King of France, 1338 through 80, returns the sword of the High Constable to Bertrand du Guesclin, 1320 to 80, from the History du Guesclin, after the poem by Cuvelier, early 15th century vellum.
Yeah, here's a cameo ring. Late 16th century, probably Italian, Venice. And you can clearly see it's a Jake. It's made of sardonyx and gold. By the way, sardonyx and gold is both mentioned, right? It's both mentioned in the scriptures.
Yeah, those are real stones.
Mm-hmm. Here's
Nah.
another, I'm sorry, here's another Italian cameo made with the same material, sardonyx and gold. You can clearly see it's a Jake. Another one, a cameo of an African king, 16th century Italy. Clearly sees a Jake with a crown on his head. Oh, this one, Philibert II, 1480 to 1504, surnamed the Handsome or the Good, was the Duke of Savoy from 1497 until his death. You can clearly see he's a Jake, no doubt. He even has his hat tipped to the side. There's a nigger woman right here, Archduchess or Archduchess Margaret of Austria, 1480 to 1530. Clearly sees a Jake woman. Oh, her father, Emperor Maximilian, named her governor of the Low Countries and guardian of her young nephew, Charles. So if she looks like that, you gotta wonder what her father, Emperor Maximilian, looked like.
And that's the reason why, when you got these Jakes now that are famous, that come into all kind of money, and they blow that money, because in their spirit they're used to that lavish lifestyle when they were kings and princes, and princesses, in the Holy Roman Empire, in the Byzantine Empire. That's why they live the life they live, because it's in their spirit.
Hey, that's the Lord said we are royal people. Yep. And that's why you got a lot of Jakes named Leroy. Yep. Leroy mean you got Jakes making fun of the name Leroy. That nigga named Leroy. Leroy means the king. The king, that's right. Elroy, the same thing. Elroy, Leroy, Elroy, the king.
Right. That's right. So they're used to that lifestyle. They're used to living that way.
First Maccabees 3:48, and laid open the book of the law, which eventually became the scriptures, wherein the heathen had sought to paint their likeness of their images. So that's why you have this thing called a Renaissance period. Matter of fact, get me Revelation 21.
All right, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And that chain represented slavery. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, people without understanding, they'll look at it and think it's talking about an actual dragon. It's not talking about an actual dragon. It's talking about the Roman Empire. The Edomites. They were. It was a period of time where they were in a spiritual prison that they couldn't get out of. They couldn't go around lying anymore, because that was their whole MO.
Yeah, because these guys of the HODC, they did a video about a week ago, and they were breaking down Revelation, the 12th chapter, where it speaks of the great red dragon. And the guy that was teaching, he said it's talking about the devil himself. See, that's why we have to go back and fix their shabby work. Now, when you go read that again, Revelation 20:1.
It says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
That's talking about Esau and his power. And that was during the time of the Roman Empire. You had the pagan Roman Empire, and then you had the so-called Holy Roman Empire, which wasn't so holy, as we found out, because they had pagan deities mixed in with the Gospels and the scriptures, man. So really, that is the so-called Holy Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire, which the scholars call it. Now, during that period of time, when Constantine the Great came into power, that was in 325 A.D. circa. But prior to that, you had Jake's ruling long before he was even thought of, man. Now, back at One West, they taught that the first Jake that ruled as a Caesar or emperor in Rome was Septimius Severus. No, his son ruled before him, and his son before him. And then prior to that, you had different Jakes come up into power. Pescennius Niger, all right? Vitellius, which goes back to even before 70 A.D. Because you had top Roman generals. What's the name? Roman general? Tiberius Julius Alexander. He had the power to take this man down, man. But he was loyal to these devils, man. He did the bidding of these devils. Just like Nate, you know? But so what happened was, there was a point of time where the Most High took the power from Esau during the time of the Roman Empire. That's that great dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, which even the apostles really didn't understand. They knew that the Romans were their enemies. They didn't say, well, that's the devil. They didn't know that. There was a lot of things that the apostles didn't understand, which was a deep mystery to them, which we understand everything, because it was up to them to scribe all that, put that in writing, and it's up to us now in the reincarnation to break it down. Because we don't got to write. I'm gonna write 2 books polite. This is my 36th book. Who the hell is reading them goddamn books? Did they ever make the bestseller? And niggas don't read. So we ain't right. Don't expect us. Although we wrote a couple. We had some brothers. A brother. He's a devil now. He used to be a brother. Wrote a couple of books. All right. And sometimes we reference them books. But you know what? The main book is this book right here. All right. And we go into other books that Esau put together, scholars, to confirm what the scriptures is saying, man. So we don't got to sit there and write a whole bunch of books. Y'all can write when y'all gonna start writing books. Look, we don't got to write a book. The book's already written. What are we doing now? We breaking down the book.
Seek ye out of the book of the
Seek ye out of the book of the, not the book that you write.
Right.
We ate the roll. Now we're going to make the sense of the roll.
Rephrase that. We ate the roll. Now we go out and teach Israel. That's what it said. Don't say teach Esau. Tell Esau he gonna be an employee in the kingdom and all that nonsense. Oh, Cornelius is an Edomite. It said eat this roll, then go out and tell it to the children of Israel. Who is that job for? The prophets. Who are we, the prophets? How do we know that we're the prophets? It's because we're doing exactly what the Most High say do. We're breaking these scriptures down, man.
It says, verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit.
What's the breakdown as you go ahead?
Right, the bottomless pit is Europe, and the reason why it's known as a bottomless pit is because it's a lack of mineral resources and other things that they don't have, that they have to get from India, China, different other places that are great in these resources and minerals, you know. And then when you read in the Apocrypha, it speaks about a particular pit that the Most High loves, which is the land of Israel. It calls it a pit. It says, and shut him up and set a seal upon him. So the Lord shut him up and set a seal upon him, meaning that he couldn't, just like when the book was sealed, you couldn't make sense of the book, no matter how hard and how many times you try to read it. The same thing with Esau. Once the Most High shut them up, they couldn't break out of that prison. They couldn't get back into power. You know, name one time that they were able to come back into power in that period.
And Jake, in slavery, it was against the law to read the scriptures, but they couldn't understand them anyway, man. You had these Israelite groups that praising these different Denmark VC and name some others. Denmark VC was one. Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner. They kind of had an idea of the scriptures, but they couldn't break the scriptures down. They didn't know who the beast was. They didn't know who Esau was. They didn't know that the slave master, well, that's Esau. That came out now. The book has been unsealed now, pursuant to Revelation 5 and Daniel 12.
Wisdom shall be increased. Daniel 12th chapter. Yep.
That's right. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
Yeah, it's funny how that so-called Renaissance period happened during the time that it happened.
That's right.
What about all during the first century, second century, third century AD?
Yep.
Why was it specifically the 14th century, latter part of the 1300s, going into the 1400s?
Yep.
Why was it specifically around that time, the 1500s?
That was the Renaissance period.
That was the time for Esau. Yeah. That was the time for the devil to spring up.
That's right.
That was the time he was loose from his prison.
That's right.
Because isn't there an icon called A Day in the King's Court?
Yep.
Where you can see so-called white men being brought to the council.
Yeah. Yep.
And who was sitting in the judge's seat? So-called black men.
Yeah, that's right.
So this devil knows that at one time he was a slave. As a matter of fact, the word slave goes back to white servant, Slav.
Slav.
Means white servant. You know?
Yeah, that's why those judges in England wear that cap on their head, that hair, that's wool. You know,
Yeah.
it represents the woolly hair of the barristers that used to rule and judge in the English courts.
Yeah, the real slaves are really the so-called white man. Because if you start with the Rothschilds, right? What was their original name before they changed their name to Rothschild?
Yep. Bauer.
Bauer, which means peasant. So as great as the Rothschilds are today, in reality, they're really what? Peasants. And they're going to be our slaves in the kingdom.
That's why they changed their name.
Renaissance period, right? Now, when Constantine the Great came into power, that was 325 AD, right? When did they start? And shortly thereafter, the Moors ruled Spain. The last stronghold was Granada, which they were Israelites. The Moors going back to that period were Israelites, all right? Some embrace the religion of Islam, others embrace the Christian belief, all right, which is a paganized, Christianized belief, right? So Constantine the Great sat on the throne, or sat in the seat of power in about circa 325 AD, right? And when did they start going down? Circa 1345, circa 1400s, right? Now, I looked up the word Renaissance, right? It said Renaissance period, 1300 to 1700. See? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, right? So that was 400 years of them changing everything, man. It says the Renaissance is a period in Europe from the 14th to the 17th century. Really, it's supposed to be the 1300 to the 1600s, which is about 300 years. It says the Renaissance is a period in Europe from the 14th to the 17th century, considered the bridge between the Middle Ages and modern history. So what is that telling you? That's when Esau came into power.
Yeah, modern history. Modern history. In other words, modern history is a PC term for lies. All right? I got scripture.
Which is revised history.
Yeah, revised history. His story.
His story, yeah.
Yeah, his story.
And the lies buried.
Ecclesiastes 9:11, I returned and saw under the sun, which is on the earth, right? That the race is not to the swift,